Lions OCDC requested interview by us. Does that mean they have a GM in mind already? Because sounds like Myers Spielman has already been working for us. I don't know if they've requested an interview. You might have heard something that I haven't heard, which is fine if that's the case. We can't talk to any coaches until January 22nd is the first time you can meet with any coach in person. They've set that new guideline this year. And so no matter what takes place, you still have another 2 weeks before you can even talk to anyone. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what Washington does, what direction they go in. I think the prevailing thought right now is you hire an offensive-minded coach, but as many people have said, it's not about offense or defense. It's about the right guy. Just find that guy. I mean, I think you'd be remiss if you just looked at DeMeco Ryans, and I think a lot of people had that knee-jerk reaction to his success by winning the division in his first year and saying, see, you don't have to hire an offensive-minded guy. You just have to hire the right guy, right? And to that, I say, that's cool. But what happens when his offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, gets hired somewhere else, and then he has to hire somebody else to take Bobby Slowick's job? Then what happens? Are we having the same conversation? Because Nick Sirianni, supposed to be an offensive-minded guy, lost Shane Steichen, right? And the offense, not the same. Lost his defensive coordinator, defense, not the same. I mean, it's not easy to rehire guys, but it's a lot easier, and I've stated this a number of times, it's a lot easier to find a defensive coordinator to come in and run your defense than it is to find a new offensive mind for your quarterback. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But we'll see. There's that. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, calm just now. We have asked to speak to Cottingham. Are you surprised by that? I'm not. You know how I've been on Ian Cottingham, and that doesn't mean they're going to hire him. It just means that's a guy that Josh Harris has already talked to during those accelerator program meetings in the winter, and so he already has a working knowledge of Ian Cottingham. He was impressed with him then. Everything about Ian Cunningham's background suggests that he would be a tremendous hire, even from being mentored. First of all, he worked for the Ravens organization. Everybody thinks we're going to poach their organization for potentially a defensive coordinator and one of their executives. Ian Cunningham came from Baltimore. That's where he cut his teeth in the league as an executive, mentored by Ozzie Newsome, and stayed there. And again, part of the reason I cited Ian Cunningham as the guy that may ultimately be here is he's got a working relationship with Eugene Shin, who's already in the organization. They overlapped in Baltimore. So Shin can be your analytics, numbers-based guy. And I've said that Cunningham would be the yin to his yang because he's more of a practical, hands-on, boots on the ground, talent evaluator type of, ex-player himself type of guy. You put the two together, it makes a ton of sense. So one thing that Harris has done in other stops as an owner is he's put together a well-balanced organization, a front office, where everybody's strengths don't look the same. You may be strong here, this guy's strong here, and this guy's really good with this guy's really good with that. So everybody plays a role, right? So Cunningham makes a lot of sense. Doesn't mean he's going to be the hire. But we know this process is going to be an extensive one. And so I think they're going to talk to, I told you guys, I think they're going to talk to 6 candidates. That was the number I threw out. Remember, I had the live video where I tried to predict the offseason. I said they're going to talk to 6 GM candidates, narrow that search down to like 2 or 3 guys or people that they want to interview a second time. And then they're going to make a hire off of that. And I said that hire would be Ian Cunningham. But we'll see what happens. Rich says, per Shefty, we requested Raheem Morris interview. So what it sounds like to me is they're going ahead and they're satisfying the Rooney Rule. I know that sounds bad, but it's something that has to take place. Ian Cottingham satisfies that on the GM side, and Raheem Morris satisfies that on the head coach side. So they're doing their due diligence. I'm not saying that these guys aren't qualified and that that they're not going to be in the discussion, but I don't think we're hiring Raheem Morris. I just think they want to talk to him now. Raheem already has been a head coach in this league. One thing I know is that players absolutely love playing for this dude. They even loved him when he was the brief stint he had in Tampa Bay as the head coach. It just didn't work, right? But not because players didn't love playing for him. He just wasn't ready. You know, he was one of the youngest head coaches in NFL history when he got that opportunity. He just wasn't ready, you know, to help a team win then. He's a much more, you know, developed now, seen a lot more, experienced a lot more, been around Sean McVay. He's a different guy now than he was probably 12 years ago when he was a head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With probably Josh Freeman was his quarterback, I think. Whatever the case may be, probably like a decade ago, it feels like 2014, something like that. Either way, those seem more like, not those, that one in particular seems like a Rooney Rule interview. I'm just keeping it a buck with you. And again, that's no disrespect to Raheem Morris, but you got to interview a minority candidate anyway. So we'll see. I don't think he's at the top of our list in terms of candidates. But I know this, he'll go in there and he'll knock their socks off. He'll interview very well. So we'll see. And he's kind of ambiguous too, because he's been an offensive and a defensive coach in this league. He's more of a defensive coach throughout his career, but he's been both. He's been on both sides of the football. So I don't even know if there's a specific specialty where you can kind of put him in the box and say he's a defensive-minded head coach, which I think he would be considered a defensive-minded head coach. But anyway, I digress.